And I think of Matisse as a painter, right? He became, the incredible work to him and Picasso back and forth and changing, revolutionizing the art world. And as he got older, it was a single line. The pen wouldn't come off the paper, just a single line. What could he get out simpler? More simple, right? Or he did his scissor cutouts, right? He's pasting all these cutouts. He's laying in bed and he's putting these cutouts on the wall like a child. The greatest, I think he's better than Picasso, the greatest artist of a century. And that relationship, Picasso, and Picasso was like a wizard, where Matisse was like a monk. So if it's not getting simpler, you're going in the wrong direction. And I look at that and I think, the reading one or two lines in a book, and then that's it. I remember Father Victor Hoagland, who was like kind of a really spiritual father to me, and God, awesome man. And we were talking about the rosary, and he wasn't the kind of guy who prayed the rosary. And he'd say, "Well, one or two Hail Marys in, and I'm done." And if you don't know the rosary, it's a series of 5 series of 10 Hail Marys, right, with other prayers. So it's 50 Hail Marys. And what he means by one or two in and I'm done is that sometimes when you're praying these set prayers, which are beautiful, and Buddhists have beads, and there's all kinds of Muslims have beads, and but one or two Hail Marys in other words, what he's saying is like sometimes it's all it takes. When you get into a cultured relationship, and it's not from you, it's from God. It's a grace that he gives you, and then you nurture, and it develops like any talent. Like he gives a talent to a kid. It's not their talent, it's God's talent. The kid nurtures it, it gets better, he's able to hit the ball. A lot more consistency. He goes from being a 100 hitter to a 300 hitter. So it's, in many ways, contemplation and prayer and meditation have that aspect where one or two Hail Marys and you're in. Right? You're in with God, and then you put the rosary down, because the rosary is a tool to help you get you to God. The Bible are, these instruments, well, Bible's not an instrument, but let's leaving the Bible aside, spiritual guides and text. And so anyway, to read something on X and have that sensation where I'm in, wow, I'm in. Right? It's like put the book down, put the phone down. So him talking about how a child is making him see the future differently brought me back to Brooklyn. I was in Brooklyn last night, actually. And we went to a really cool rock climbing club. And, everybody's covered in tattoos. And my wife and I are in our 50s, and we're there with our daughter. And it's really kind of awesome, to be kind of in this hip environment. And the funny part is we didn't plan to go there. My daughter said, "Can we go?" And it's a great gym called GP81. And they closed down. They lost their lease. They got on there. And it's super cool. And it's hardcore, good climbing, hard climbs. So my daughter's in there, but the funny part is that's where we lived when my daughter was born, and we only lived there like 6 months. We moved there basically in order to my wife to give birth to her and be near a good hospital, and she was born in Manhattan. And so anyway, that's the neighborhood we were in when we were walking around the day that my wife gave birth to her. So now we're there years later, and she's doing these incredible climbs. And you're thinking about the simplicity, right? You're thinking about how does this become simpler? And I remember that this guy Farzad saying about holding his child, and it brought me back to Laurie and I go into this apartment, right, in Greenpoint, which is right next to Williamsburg, the hippest part of Brooklyn. And we brought her home, right, and we took her out of the car seat thing, and we laid her on the middle of the bed. And I'm telling this story. Everybody listening has a child has a story, right? So I'm just sharing mine. And we laid her on the bed, and I remember we looked at each other and we were like, "What do we do now? What do you do now?" Right? You don't just it's over or close the door or something. No, that's it. You stare at this child now. And then you get, become like those first-time parents, and you're analyzing everything, and even their bowel movements are incredible experiences, both scary because you're like, is it normal, and yet exciting. Wow, actually their belly works, and the cries and then all that kind of stuff. And it reminds me of this guy Vinny at the time. At the time, I drank a lot, before this, and I stopped drinking, and I wasn't drinking, and I went to AA for a while, and this guy I met there, and his name was Vinny. And Vinny was this tall, old Italian guy, right? And Vinny, I saw Vinny in the street, and Vinny said, "Hey, Howie, how's the baby?" I said, oh, Vinny, she's great. A little pause, and I said, well, you know, she cries a lot, Vinny. And he said, meh, yeah, I know. And then I said, you know, Vin, when does that stop? And he said, when you die. Right? Right? When does that stop? You know, they cry, they complain, they get older, right? And then they become teenagers and they get attitude. It's like they never stop crying, you know? You know, and, you know, I responded, I replied, I reposted and I replied. I'm getting pretty hip, you know, on this X thing. And in my reply, I wrote something like, you know, the way I summarized it was that, you know, once you have a child, your days of staring in the mirror are over. And I think that's exactly what he's saying, you know. And it's because it's all the same wisdom, right? It's all the same pool. Everybody's invited into the same pool. You know, we don't possess any of this.